All right, let's move on to a little P-Hub. Prime Hub, because Deion Primetime back in the news, man, as Colorado already paying immediate dividends here, as Deion over the weekend gets a commitment from the number 8 and, flips a commitment from Notre Dame for the number 8 ranked running back in the country, an ESPN top 300 cat. This guy's Dylan Edwards. He's a 5'8 running back. He was committed to Kansas State, which, look, all I'm saying is if I'm a 5'8 running back, probably going to Kansas State. But whatever, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He flips from Kansas State to Notre Dame, and now he flips immediately to Colorado. And the quote is the interesting part. He says, quote, "I know a lot of guys are about to come here. I know a lot of guys that are about to flip their commitments. They're all big Power 5 guys, lots of offers, guys that are 4 and 5 stars. Nobody is safe in this situation recruiting-wise. Coach Deion's plan here is worth coming to look at, and recruits are going to want to do that." Do you agree? Do you think Deion at Colorado represents a danger to like a couple of Georgia 4 or 5 stars, or LSU 4 or 5, or Alabama? Like, can he actually represent a potential threat at Colorado in year number 1?
He was a threat at an HBCU last year. He took the number 1 recruit in the nation away from all those schools to go to that school. So yes, is he a threat? Hell yeah, he is. Like, duh. He brought, what is it, Travis from the claws of Florida State and Georgia and Alabama, and said, no, come to Jackson State with me. And then a bunch of, he had a bunch of other 4-star guys that he got that were top 300 guys. So yes, he is 100% danger now that he has facilities, that he's in a Power 5 conference, that he can compete for conference championships and compete to make the playoffs. I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, but eventually. So yes, he 100% has put himself in a position where he's going to be able to build this roster. He's already, you remember all those that the Scott and all these, 4-star guys he got last year? Those guys get to hit the portal. And as soon as they win their championship this Saturday afternoon they're going to follow him and go to Colorado. So then all of a sudden you have 4 or 5 4-stars, which is 4 or 5 more 4-stars that are already, more than you had on the roster. So the roster's already better. So yes, he is a major, major threat to all the big boys. And I think something too that's happening at the moment, because of USC and their success, because of UCLA and their success, in Oregon and Washington, and then the thought of the expanded playoffs, the relevance of West Coast football, I think, is getting better. It's not the SEC. It's not the excitement here that we live every day in Georgia and Louisiana and the Bama and the Carolinas. Like that's an extreme. But people in the West Coast, because of Caleb Williams and because of those other teams, and like I said, the expanded playoffs, are now taking more recognition about college football. And so are recruits and recruiting parents. So now all of a sudden, if you're a kid and you want to stay in the West Coast, you don't want to have to go across country to make mom and dad travel, and now Deion Primetime Sanders is there in Colorado, you may go take a trip there. So I think for him, all he needs to do is get those kids on campus. He's a hell of a recruiter.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a motivator. He's building a tremendous group of coaches and a staff and a support staff around him. All he's telling his staff and fans, just get him to Boulder and I'll do the rest of it. And I do trust Deion. If you get them to Boulder, he is going to win a lot of those decisions from a lot of these top recruits. So yeah, he's a major threat, especially to those West Coast teams as they're trying to build out there.
And Boulder seems cool as hell in its own right? And then Deion is the ultimate cool. And like B-Bean's talking about in the chat, players' parents will want to meet Deion. It's almost like if you have an offer from Deion, even if in your heart you think there's no way you're going to go there, you take the visit just to meet Coach Prime. Like you take the visit just to go see what it's all about. And then within that, maybe that natural charisma, the natural flash, that smile overcomes you. And all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm going to change all my plans. I think I can see myself committing here. I thought that Zion Olajede, and I apologize, I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. I'm sure it could be Olajede. It's Olojed. He's one of the head content guys for Complex. He had a great piece on complex.com where there's been a lot of discourse over Deion leaving Jackson State for Colorado after 3 years, after all of his promises of what he wanted to do with HBCUs and everything else. And some people saying he bailed on that and he bailed on it for Colorado, and it kind of cheapens the original message. Well, I think it's an interesting conversation where I definitely see validity to both sides of the argument. But Zion went and talked to the actual Jackson State players, right? Imagine that. Interviewed them. Okay, how do you feel about your coach now leaving for Colorado? And what's wild is nearly to a man, they were very appreciative and thankful of what Prime did for Jackson State and HBCUs. And many of them basically saying also that he kept it very real, that from day one, they knew this wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when, and that in that time he was there, that he did everything he promised to do. He grew them. He put them on the map. He came out of his own pocket to pay for facilities and upgrade everything, all the equipment, everything that they had, right? So, like, while we're all talking about the guys that really matter are the ones that actually played for him, and they all are completely happy with him and what he did. And that's a huge positive sign, in my opinion, for what he's going to do next. And in that article, he interviews the players as well about why they chose Jackson State. And there's one cat, Isaiah Bolden. He was leaving Florida State after a coaching change. He was going to go to Texas A&M. He talked to Coach Prime for an hour on the phone, and he immediately flipped to JSU. And it was the last line from Zion's article that stood out to me. He said, quote, "I ain't going to lie to you. When the GOAT call your phone, why not go with him?" And I think that's very representative of what Dylan Edwards is saying. That's what Aaron is saying. And that's what I am saying, is that he, like he told you and like the Jackson State president told you, he opens doors that are closed otherwise. And once the door of opportunity is open, there have been few human beings on this planet in the game of football that are better at following through on those opportunities. So, yeah, like Aaron said, if he's getting the number one recruit in the nation at Jackson State, he's absolutely going to be a threat at Colorado.
Well, and he's a proven winner as a coach too. I know it's a different league. It's not a Power 5 school, but winning's winning. At the end of the day, like, can you recruit the better players in your conference or your division or whatever it may be? He's proven he can do that. Can you then go develop that talent and win football games? He's proven that. I just think there's a level of credibility. Like if you're in Alabama and Nick Saban tells you to do something, you're sure as hell going to do that. And you're going to try to do it at a very high level because he's proven that, hey, if I follow directions and I do what Coach Saban says, there's a good chance that I'm going to, win individual awards, we'll win a championship, and I'll have an opportunity to play at the next level. Why Coach Sanders maybe, Deion hasn't proven that necessarily, hey, I can coach first-round talent, I can get you to the NFL. He's played at the highest of levels. He's one of the all-time greats in the NFL.
Yeah.
So if he's been around the best of the best, he knows what it takes to play. Because don't get me wrong, like all these kids love college football. I love college football. You love college football. People listening to the show love college football. The kids enjoy it, and especially now that they get paid. But the goal is, can I get to the NFL? Can I go make a boatload of money, retire at 40, and just play golf? Like, that's everyone's dream. Prime has been there, done that, knows what he's talking about, knows what it takes to get there. The level of credibility that he brings when he talks to these recruits, he can sit down with your mom and dad and say, hey, I played in the NFL. I played with this Pro Bowler, this Pro Bowler, this player. I won this championship. I know what it takes to get your son here. I'm going to develop him. I'm going to turn him to the best D-line, cornerback, quarterback, receiver, running back, whatever it takes to win championships and make his dreams come true. How are you going to disagree with that man? He's been there, done that. He knows what it takes. I think he's going to absolutely kick ass there at Colorado. And I'll say it like I said last week, shame on Auburn for not giving him a chance. I still think they're going to be regretting this decision just a tad bit at the end of the day.
Well, guess what? That's just a feeling. That's just a feeling, Aaron Murray. And when your commitment to the team is greater than your feelings, that's when the winning starts, okay? Wake up. Have you ever read The Wheel of Time, Aaron? Have you ever heard of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, a fantasy series? Okay, in that story, they talk about some humans having a strong Taverin, right? And what this is that basically reality kind of weaves around them, almost bends to their will. It's almost like they have a magnetic pull on everything around them. I think you see this in athletes sometimes, like a Tom Brady. Joe Burrow has strong Taverin. You see coaches with this. Deion has this. Everything he has touched in life has turned into a success. His Taverin is incredibly strong, and he'll prove it once again.